Hi everybody, welcome back to DayZ, and in this tutorial video I'm going to show you how to install the expansion mod on your community server. In this case, as an example, we're going to be using a Nitrado community server as well. And I'm going to show you how to get the mod started and installed, and I'm going to show you how to add the extra CE item, the central economy items, the types, the XMLs and that sort of stuff. I'm going to show you how to set up the trader. In fact, to whet your appetite, why don't we quickly jump to the trader up at Green Mountain. Here we go. There he is. So I'm going to show you how to set up the trader, and I'm going to show you how to set up the area we just saw there, which are the overgrown areas with ivy and all that sort of stuff. This really is absolutely amazing. Now, there's going to be an awful lot of links in the description below this video, and also because expansion is just so huge and adds so much to the game, I can't cover all the setting up and configs in this particular video. So as I do content about setting up particular parts of expansion, I'll put links to those in the description below this video. For example, how to set up the trader in terms of prices, things like how to set up the airdrops, how to set up building, how to set up territories, how to set up the currency, all that sort of stuff, how to set up, you know, the book, all this sort of stuff. They'll be in separate videos. Okay, so watch out for those updates below this video. Also, I highly recommend that you start off, if you want to install expansion, by installing a local DayZ server on your local PC and installing expansion on that. The reason is that expansion can be quite complicated to get started, and it can be quite complicated to configure as well. And if you're doing it on your local PC, it's much faster and easier to find the mistakes you've made. And also, if you do need to start a mistake, you know, if you do make a mistake and need to start again, it's much easier to do that on a local PC than it is on a remote server. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to quit out of here because we'll need to have a look at the launcher in a minute as well. So let's just shut that down. Are you sure? Yes. Now that should take us back to the launcher in a sec. So what you're going to see in the description below this video, and if you're watching this video somewhere else, please click through to YouTube because you're going to want access to the description. So there'll be a link to my how to install DayZ expansion on your local PC server. Excuse me, got a bit of a tickly cough. Let's have a quick drink of coffee. If you haven't got a drink, I highly recommend you pause the video, go and get one. This is going to be quite a long video. I've also got a video on how to install Community Framework and Community Online tools. Now that is to your local DayZ PC server, but the idea is the same to do it to a remote one. I've also got a guide to install Community Framework and Zomberry admin tools. Now, the admin tool of choice that the expansion guys and girls recommend is Community Online tools. Zomberry does work with it as well, sort of. If you're going to use Zomberry like I do, there's a couple of things you've got to watch out for. One is the key binding. So normally Zomberry is bound to O, Oscar, on your keyboard, but in DayZ expansion, O brings up your quests. So you want to change key binding to, well, I changed it to Shift O to bring up Zomberry. Also, when you go into free cam, your fella keeps running around. So watch that. If you're near a cliff or something, he's going to fall off. So that could be quite funny. You'll also find there's a rather good guide that the expansion team have done that I'll put a link to, which is the installation cheat sheet. Now, in this particular video, we're going to be installing DayZ expansion bundle. So we're going to be getting everything. And this is probably the easiest way to install DayZ expansion. When you get used to it and used to configuring it, all that sort of stuff, and you see what actually works for your server and what you use, you may want to get rid of expansion bundle and install expansion core and the individual bits. But for now, this is going to be bundle. There's also a link to the DayZ expansions wiki, which is very useful, and also I'll put a link to their GitHub, which is very, very useful indeed, because you can just come here and remember, always do a search for your question first before you post a ticket or start asking, because chances are someone has asked that question and it has been answered already. There's a link to Community Framework, which you need to subscribe to. Dabs Framework, you need to subscribe to. DayZ Expansion Bundle. Now, the strange thing is, we don't actually subscribe to DayZ Expansion because it's included in the bundle. DayZ Expansion License, DayZ Expansion Animations, Community Online Tools, and the DayZ Expansion Missions. You want to go to their GitHub repository by following the link in the description below this video, clicking on the code and downloading this lot and unpacking it somewhere on your hard drive where you can easily get at it. This includes the mission extra bits for the mission files, so the extra types.xml, the extra events.xml, the extra CFG spawnable types.xml, that sort of thing is in there, and also the setup files for the trader, because we need to set that up as well. And also you'll want to be familiar with using FTP. Some of the files we're dealing with are very, very big, so you can't use the browser upload feature from within, say, Nitrado. You want to be using something like FileZilla, so I'm kind of assuming that you've done that. If at this point you're thinking, well, I haven't done any of this before, you haven't installed mods on your remote server or installed a local server, it's probably time to stop, go back, install a local server, get used to adding mods to a local server, and add simple mods like Zomberry, for example, to your remote server, and then come back to expansion, because it does have a lot of steps to it that we can go through that way. Okay, so first things first, what you'll want to do is go through and you want to subscribe to all those things that we've just mentioned in the description below this video. So Community Framework, Dabs Framework, Expansion Bundle, Expansion Licensed, Animations, Community Online Tools, and you'll want to download the expansion missions and get them all ready to go. The next thing also probably you want to do is, if you've already got your server set up, is my biggest tip for installing expansion is it must be on a blank server. All right, so if you want to, I would recommend you even reinstall your server. So do a reinstall to blank it off, and then you'll want to go into it anyway using your FTP program, or if you haven't reinstalled it, go into it, and you'll want to go into your mission file, for example Churneros, and you'll want to delete the storage 1 folder. If you've installed expansion before, whether that might have been ages ago or recently and it hasn't worked, delete the expansion folder that is within the mission folder, and also delete the expansion folder that is within your config folder, which is in the root directory for the server. So under DayZ standalone you'll have config. Now config can sometimes be called different things. It can be called profiles, could be called settings. Within it though, you will see other folders that relate normally to the mods that are on your server. So as you can see, here's one for expansion, config. You can see his expansion mod. Delete that as well. The reason for this is, if you don't, these old files can interfere with how expansion kind of sets itself up. It may not work at all, or when you do spawn in, you might find you have problems with it. Doesn't seem to be working right, especially things like quests. And if you do have problems, just go back and delete those files, reinstall your server, and start from fresh. Obviously, this does mean that all player progression is gone, or base building is gone, so installing expansion is really kind of it's a fresh start for a server. You know, if you've got an established community, right, okay guys, we're moving over to expansion, we're going to be starting again, and that kind of goes on that way. So once you've done that, so let me just go back up. So the next thing we need to do is, once we've downloaded the files by firing up the DayZ launcher, we just need to see where those are. So if you go to mods, and next to any of your mods, if you click on the little arrow, then click on the little 3 dots, and then go to open folder in Windows Explorer, this will then take you to your workshop folder within your DayZ. And this is all the mods that this is all the mods that I've got installed. It's not all the ones we're going to install on the server, but this is where they are stored. So then what we can do is, if you left click up here, you can get the address of this. And in your FTP program in FileZilla, if you left click up here and then paste that in, that will then take you to the correct place. So I've also gone File, Site Manager, and I've connected to my server. So on the left hand side, these are the local files on my PC, and on the right hand side these are the files on my remote server. So we need to upload the relevant files. So the files we need are, here we go, let's go down and we would go click on CF, make sure DayZ standalone is clicked over there, and right click upload, and that would then upload. And then we need dabs framework. So once that's done, we'd left click, right click, upload, and that would upload that one. Then we need expansion bundle, which is that one. So we would right click, upload that one. And then we need expansion licensed, which is that one. And then we need expansion animations, which is that one. And then optional is community online tools, which is, I can't see, where's community online tools gone? Community online tools, that one. Did we mention CF? We've uploaded CF. And then for me as well, it would be Zomberry admin, which is there. So I'll upload that one. Whether you want to use Zomberry or not, so it's completely up to you. I like it because it's nice and simple. Now, as you can see, I've already uploaded all these are there, and they're sitting there on my server. Now what we need to do though is we now need to add the keys for these mods to the keys folder on our server. So what you do is you go back to each mod that you've uploaded. So for example, community framework, and then down here you'll see keys. So you double click on that, and then on the right hand side on your server, if you double click on keys, there's all the keys. So you just left click, right click, upload, and that will upload that to that. And then you would go dabs framework. Where's dabs framework? There it is. So we'd expand that, there's keys, click into that, there's dabs key, upload to that. And then you would go through each mod, so CF, dabs, expansion bundle, expansion license, expansion animations, community online tools, and Zomberry. So we've put the keys up there. If you don't do the keys, then the server won't know which mods should be on there. Next thing we need to do is you want to go to your server and we want to stop it. So you want to go to your server and click stop so it stops. Then, and using Nitrado as an example, we want to go to the settings, general settings. And you want to find the additional mod section. Now, it could be that your particular server provider allows you access to the .bat file, the Windows batch file that starts your server. If you do, this is that particular place. And then what we want to do is we want to make sure we add in all of the mods that we want the server to start off with. And in the description below this video, I'll put I'll copy and paste this so you can see the order that they put them in, because I know that this order works. Now you may want to not have Zomberry admin tools, you may choose not to install that, but as you see we've got CF, and then we use semicolon, Zomberry admin tools, semicolon, community online tools, dabs framework, DayZ expansion bundle, DayZ expansion license, and DayZ expansion animations. At this point, don't be tempted to try and add more mods on. You know, just get expansion working first, so you know it's working, and then if you want to add some other things in, add them on once you've got all that sort of stuff working. It may be a good time as well now to go into your advanced settings if you're on Nitrado, for example, and just double check that you've got the churners map as your template. Maybe if you did an installation before, it could be set to Enoch, you know, Livonia, or it could be something else. So make sure you've got DayZ offline.churners plus set up, and then as you're going along, you know, make sure you save that as you make any changes and keep the server stopped. So now we've got our mods uploaded, we've got our keys in place, we've got our .batch file ready to go. What we want to do now is we just want to start the server. So in this case, for you it will say start, for me it will say restart. So you want to restart the server. And let it cycle through. If you want to, you could join the server if you want at this point, but what we're looking for in our FTP program, and you may need to refresh it by pressing, I think it's F5 in Zomberry, refresh the file structure. We're looking to see that within the config or the settings folder, that an expansion mod folder has been created, and then also within the missions folder, we're looking to see if an expansion folder has been created, like there, and that means that it's ready to take these extra files that we want to add on. So what we need to do now is that the mod is basically there and it's on the server, and you could go and play it if you want, but what wouldn't be on it is the extra items, so like things like helicopters and boats, they wouldn't be spawning in, or the new weapons. The trader won't be set up, and you won't have like those extra bits around the towns and the grass and the overgrown stuff and the different interiors as well. That's something else that I should have mentioned. So our next job is to add that. Now, to set up the trader and do all that sort of stuff, we get that from the DayZ expansion missions download that we downloaded the zip for, that you should now have somewhere on your computer. So if you now go to that, you'll have something like this: DayZ expansion missions master. So you go into here and you can see we've got some nice readme. So open those up in your favorite text editor and read through them. And they give you, it tells you how to do the CE bit, but it doesn't really tell you how to do the trader bit, I don't think it does. Let's have a look. Oh, it does at the bottom. Yeah, that's good. So let's start off first with the CE bit. And CE stands for Central Economy. And this is, you know, the types.xml, the events.xml, and all that sort of stuff. So it says, from the template, copy the expansion CE folder and place it inside your mission. So if we go to here, where I've got it, and we left click up here and right click, copy that. Go to FileZilla. We can left click here, we can paste that in there, and that will take us to here. So we're where those files are, and we can left click. So there's template, there's generous, and there's expansion CE. So then within our missions folder on our server, we go into generous, and you can see, so we've got generous selected there, we've got expansion there, so we'd right click and we'd say upload. And that would then upload to that, so you would end up with that folder there, which is good to go. Now, these are the extra bits that we're going to expansion is going to ask your server to add on to the existing events file, the existing spawnable types, and the existing types. It's like an addendum file, because you can do that with certain files in DayZ. Some of you can't, but some of you can. But what we need to do, we now need to tell the server that we want it to take these into account. So if we go back to the README, it says here, from the template, open the file CFG Economy Core and copy this little bit. So what we'd then do is we would go into here, go into template, go into generous, go into CFG Economy Core, edit with Notepad++. So that would open up. So that's the bit we need to copy in. And then if you're in your FTP program, you click on generous and just look for CFG Economy Core. We can right click and we can edit this within the FTP program. The FTP program kind of downloads it and opens it for us. So we go view edit and it opens it up. So then we can take these bits and we copy them. And then we go down, as you can see, I've already pasted them in. So where Economy Core finishes, you just right click, you paste that, and that's where they go. And you save that. And then when you go back to FileZilla, it will say, this file has changed. Do you want me to upload it? And you say, yes. And that uploads that to there. Now, unfortunately, the CFG spawnable CFG event spawns can't be edited in that way. So if we go back to our instructions, we can see that it says, from the template, inside the file CFG event spawns, copy the spawn points into CFG event spawns.xml. So again, if we go back to here, so there's CFG event spawn, so we right click that, edit with Notepad++, and again it tells you. So these are all the extra things, so the extra UAS, the Vodnik, the bus, the helicopters, the boats. So what we want to do now is we then go to here, so we want CFG event spawns, which is that one there. So we right click there and we go view or edit, so that opens that up. Let's make a little bit of space. It probably says put them at the bottom. I don't know, I like putting them at the top. Go back to CFG event spawns. We just copy all this. We don't want this bottom bit here. We just want the bits to here. Right click, copy that. Go to CFG event spawns, Control V. We paste that in. Save that. And then FileZilla will say, this has changed. Do you want me to upload it? And you say, yes, please. So that is now edited. So now we've got the extra bits that have been loaded in as well. So the next thing we need to do is we need to make sure the trader spawns in. And if we go and have a look at the template that we downloaded, and you go into expansion, traders within expansion and other things as well are kind of controlled with two aspects. You get the trader file, which has .map files in, and then you have the objects file, which has .maps. One of them is kind of the window dressing for the trader, and the other one is what the actual trader is. So what we need to do is we need to get these two folders up onto our server. So if we go back and have a look at the instructions, it says inside your mission, add the folder expansion from the template. It probably already will be there. If it isn't, if this folder doesn't exist for the template, create a folder and name it expansion. So what they're talking about here is that's the map and we've got expansion. It's probably already there, but if it's not, it's saying make it up. So you just go right click, create directory, and you write expansion. Then it says if this folder, create a folder name expansion, so create two new folders, objects and traders. Now you don't actually have to create those, because what you can do is if you just go to your FTP program and where we are, so if we just open this up, you see we've got objects and traders here. So if we just click on expansion there, then go to these and go right click upload, and then right click upload, that will then transfer those two folders over onto our server thus, and they will appear and they will have the stuff in ready to go. So they're now on there. So now we've got our trader config files on there, our trader objects files on there. So next things we want to do, we just want to make a quick edit to how the trader works, because we're downloading and we're installing the expansion bundle, and one of the things that gets included with expansion bundle is the hardline module part of it. And hardline adds a reputation system, to the game, which means that when you go to the trader, you need to have a certain reputation before it will let you trade certain things, and you might want to turn that off to start off with. So with the settings for expansion, the way that you can kind of configure it, you've got two places where stuff is stored, where settings are stored. In the root directory for your server, in your config folder or settings or profiles, you'll find a expansion mod folder, and if we open that up, you'll have settings, and I like to call this the global settings. So this affects, if you had different maps on your particular server that you swap between, this would affect every single one. But then you also have within your missions folder, and then so if we go to Generous Plus, which is what we're doing, you'll find you've got the expansion folder, and with the expansion folder we've then got another settings one as well, and these are specific to the folder. So what we want to do is we want to go into settings, we want to right click hardline settings, and we want to view and edit, and that will then open it up. And all we want to do is if we go down here and go use rep, see where it says use reputation, just want to change that to 0. It could be you keep it as 1, it's up to you, but I would say, especially for testing purposes to start off with, set it to 0. So we put that there. This is going to say this has changed. Do you want to upload it? So you say yes. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to turn on the extra bits that are around the map, so the different interiors, and we want to turn on the ivy, and we want to turn on all that extra junk that makes the map look so special. Now to do that, we go into the global settings for expansion, which is in the config or the profiles of the settings of the server. Go into expansion mod, and we want to go into here we go, settings, and we want to go to general settings here, general settings.json. So right click, view and edit. So these are the general settings, and if we scroll down you can see I've already turned it on. So your one will say use custom mapping module, and it will say 0. So you want to change that to 1. 1 means true or yes, and that means it will then use all these areas to load all those extra bits in, like the extra trees, and the cars and the rubbish and the barriers, all that sort of stuff. Remember, this used to be done in a different way. There used to be like you used to have to do it within the init.c file, but it doesn't do it like that, which is nice and easy. And if you scroll down as well, you'll see building interiors, and yours will probably be set to 0, so you can change that to 1 now. And then underneath that you've got building ivies, and again that will be 0, so you can set that to 1, and you can save that. And you'd save that, go back to FileZilla and say this has changed, you want to upload it. Just please bear in mind that these things do definitely have an impact on server performance. So it could be that you don't bother with the building interiors. It could be you don't bother with the custom map modules, but it may be you do put the ivies on lots of the buildings. You're going to have to see what works for you, because it's a combination of how good your server is, what other mods you've got installed on it, what the population is on the server, is everybody building big bases, all that sort of stuff that will affect it. And it may be you have to take some things off, or it may be cool. Now there are lots of other configs on here as well, but I will do separate videos about them. Some of them are very simple to understand. Other ones you may well want to have a look at the wiki for DayZ expansion, or go to their Discord and and look for the instructions on there. But I will be doing separate videos for those, and I will be putting them in the description below this video when I get around to doing them. So that, my friends, is pretty much it. We've got all the things uploaded, we've got all our mods in place, we've put our keys in place, we've got the extra CE items in place, we've got the trader in place, we've adjusted the trader, and we've also adjusted the map, so you're just going to get the extra bit. So what you need to do now is go back to your server, and you need to start your server or restart your server, and those changes should come into effect, and you should be able to log into your server. And enjoy what expansion is. Now, there's a good chance that I may well have made a mistake doing this video. In fact, as DayZ just crashed. My DayZ crashes quite a lot these days. There we go. Let's fire up DayZ again. There's a good chance I may well have made a mistake or missed something out while I've been doing this. What you can always do is, if I do make a real bad mistake, what you'll see in the description below this video is any corrections there. And if you run into trouble with expansion, with it not working, my biggest piece of advice is go back and blank that storage folder that's in the server, storage 01, blank the settings folder that are in the root directory of your server and within the mission as well, the ones that relate to DayZ expansion, and just start again. Also, do things one at a time. So for example, if, like in my case where I start off with Community Framework and Zomberry, I'll just install them on the server, I'll log into the server, and I'll see if it works. Then I install all the expansion bundle, expansion license, expansion animations, and community online tools. I install those and then see if it works. Also, a number of restarts may well be required. As part of this tutorial, we only really did one restart, didn't we? But you could well, you might well find that if you restart your server a few times, not really, leave it a couple of minutes between restarts to let everything become sorted. But you may well want to do that, and that can sort things out as well, especially when it comes to using good old community online tools, because I found that community online tools can be quite what would be the word? It's not that reliable in terms of it turning on and off. Sometimes I think it just doesn't recognise your Steam ID or something, and I don't know, it just tends to do that. Anyway, though, that's enough from me. Hopefully you found this video useful. If you have, hit like. If you want to see more of the same, press subscribe. And of course, I'll see you again soon.